The first time Elenvaro found them, he thought they were dying. 3 small shapes huddled in the alley behind his restaurant, their silver fur matted with rain and mud. Wolf pups. Or something like them. Their eyes too intelligent. Their whimpers too articulate. On this backwater trading station at the edge of explored space, strange creatures weren't uncommon. But these were starving. Eland had never been able to walk past suffering. It was why he'd left the Terran Defense Corps, why he'd opened a kitchen instead of re-enlisting. He scooped up the trembling pups, ignoring their weak attempts to bite, and carried them inside. That night, he fed them synthesized meat and warm broth. They ate like they'd never seen food before, their luminous golden eyes watching him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. When they finished, the largest of the 3, a female with a crescent-shaped mark on her forehead, touched her nose to his hand. The gesture felt oddly formal, like a salute. "You're welcome," Eland said softly. He expected them to leave. They didn't. Every night, just after the station's artificial sunset, they would appear at his back door. Sometimes they brought others, younger pups, injured ones, elderly wolves who moved with difficulty. Eland fed them all. He told himself he could afford it. Business was good, and the children he'd started thinking of them that way needed someone. Weeks became months. The original 3 grew stronger, larger. They began bringing him things, salvaged tech components, rare herbs that grew in the station's hydroponics bay, once even a data chip containing schematics for a more efficient cooling system. Gifts, he realized. They were thanking him. Eland tried to learn more about them. The station's information network yielded little rumors of a lupine species from the 7th quadrant, stories of shapeshifters and ancient bloodlines. Nothing concrete. The children themselves couldn't speak, or wouldn't, but their eyes held secrets that made him wonder. On the 100th night, something changed. Eland was closing up when he noticed a figure standing in the shadows across from his restaurant. Humanoid, female, wrapped in a cloak that seemed to absorb light. She watched him for a long moment, then vanished. The next night, she was there again, and the next. It made him nervous. Former military instincts kicked in. He varied his routes home, checked for surveillance, kept a plasma pistol within reach. But the figure never approached, never threatened. She simply watched. Then came the night the station shook. Alarms blared across every corridor. Through the viewport in his kitchen, Eland saw warships dropping out of hyperspace sleek vessels, with hulls that shimmered like oil on water, Razathi Imperium colors, raiders who enslaved entire colonies and sold their populations to mining concerns. The station's meager defense fleet lasted 17 minutes. Eland was loading his pistol when the wolf children arrived, all of them, perhaps 50 strong. They surrounded him, pressing close. And he understood. They were protecting him. The largest, his first, the one with the crescent mark, made a sound he'd never heard before. A howl that resonated in his bones. The back wall of his restaurant exploded. Razathi shock troops poured through, plasma rifles raised. Eland fired, dropped one. But there were too many. He was about to die defending wolf pups in a kitchen at the edge of nowhere, and somehow that seemed right. Light erupted through the room. It wasn't light, exactly. It was starfire. Cosmic radiation compressed into physical form. The Razathi soldiers simply ceased to exist. Their molecules scattered across dimensional barriers. Eland fell to his knees, shielding his eyes. When he looked up, she was there. The woman from the shadows stood in his ruined kitchen, but the cloak was gone. She wore armor that seemed woven from the void itself, and a crown of silver fire floated above her head. Her eyes were the same luminous gold as the wolf children's. As she approached, those children transformed their bodies, shifting, stretching, until 50 humanoid figures stood where the wolves had been. The largest, his first, now appeared as a young woman with silver hair and that same crescent mark on her forehead. She smiled at him with tears streaming down her face. "Mother," she said, her voice finally free. The crowned woman knelt before Eland. Up close, he could see the weight of centuries in her face, the burden of civilizations in her eyes. "I am Empress Lirasha," she said quietly. "Ruler of the 7th quadrant, commander of 300 worlds, guardian of the stellar assembly." She paused, and her voice cracked. "And a mother who failed her children." Eland struggled to process. "You're there, my heirs, my court, my family." Lirasha looked at the transformed children with infinite sorrow. "A political coup forced me to scatter them, hide them in forms that my enemies wouldn't recognize. I've spent 2 years hunting down the conspirators, reclaiming my throne. I watched from afar, unable to reveal myself, unable to protect them directly without exposing their location." She turned back to Eland, and now her eyes held something else. "Reverence. You fed them. Every night. For 100 nights. You fed strangers who couldn't even speak to you. You asked nothing in return. You gave without expectation." She bowed her head. "Humanity is young to the stars, Elandvaro. Your people have no empire, no ancient legacy. But you have something we've lost. The instinct to nurture. Even when it costs you. Especially when it costs you." The daughter, the princess, stepped forward. "You saved us, Eland. Not just our bodies. Our hope." Overhead, the Razathi warships were burning. Lirasha's fleet had arrived, vast and terrible. But here, in this small, ruined kitchen, an empress knelt before a cook. "I offer you a choice," Lirasha said. "Return to your life, with wealth enough to rebuild 1,000 times over. Or come with us, teach my court, my people, what humanity knows about compassion without condition." Eland looked at the children he'd fed, now revealed as princes and princesses of a stellar empire. He thought about walking past suffering, about the cost of caring. He smiled. "I'll need a bigger kitchen," he said. The Star Empress laughed, and it sounded like home.